The rhetoric against the men and women of ICE is skyrocketing, especially by members of Congress. We have senators, we have Congress people that compare ICE to the Nazis, compare ICE to racists, and it just continues. So the public thinks, well, if a member of Congress can attack ICE, why can't we? So the rhetoric has to stop. Or it's a matter of time for someone to, one of the ICE officers goes down or a criminal goes down, but we already see an officer go down.
This comes as assaults on ICE and federal agents are up nearly 700% from a year ago. The Democrat Party's base trying to gin up even more political violence. An Axios report today reveals that Democrat lawmakers are being told by their constituents and grassroots activists that they need to be willing to get shot, those are quotes, in their Trump resistance efforts, literally out for blood.
For more, let's bring in Outkick founder Clay Travis, along with host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless and Fox News contributor Tomi Lahren. Thanks to both of you for joining us. This notion of Democrats talk a lot about threats to democracy, Clay, real or perceived. The way it works in a democracy, and specifically in our republic, is if you don't like the policies of the U.S. government, if you don't like the laws on immigration, you debate them in Congress. You do not attempt to obstruct or even worse, commit violence against federal agents performing their lawful duties. Is this now sort of mainstream Democratic thought, or do you think this is the progressive insanity that's on its way to being washed out of the political system?
Well, I think it's awful politics. I also just think it's a poor result for the country in general. The New York Times had a front page story about when the 2019 Democrat primary took place, and they asked whether they thought, all the Democrats on the stage, whether they thought they should decriminalize crossing the border, and basically all of them raised their hands, and that since then it's been a political disaster for them. Tom Homan says that we've got at least 20 million illegal immigrants in this country. We know that 10 million came in the 4 years of Joe Biden by itself. And the Democrat gamble, and so far it seems to be paying off for them, is that it's way easier to let people in than it is to take them out. And Tom Homan said today we got to bump the numbers up to 7,000 deportations a day. Because otherwise we're going to end up in a situation where it's virtually impossible from a mathematical perspective. We're averaging around 3,000 a day at best right now. Run the math on that. We're talking about a generation of how long it would take just to get the people out who Biden let in. So we've got to step up, bump up the numbers, so to speak, and we have to do as aggressively to get people out of the country as Democrats were to get them in.
Do they really all have to go? I thought the focus was on people who were committing violent crimes, or at least crimes beyond crossing the border.
I think we should get them out, as many as we possibly can, because everybody's breaking the law when they come in. And I think if you have no border and no border enforcement, effectively you're going to have a permanent class of people who live here. And I think, look, there's two major incentives. One is the job situation is so phenomenal in the United States that you can make a lot more money if you come from Mexico or another Latin American country and you come into the United States, or frankly, most countries around the world. That is a hard incentive to remove. The second one President Trump is trying to remove, and that is birthright citizenship. Because when you come here, you break our laws, you come into our country and you have a kid, guess what? Your kid becomes an American citizen because we have birthright by soil, which is actually very rare and a relic of colonialism. And the Supreme Court's going to have to determine whether the president has the authority to fix it. So to answer your question, yes, I do think we need, start with the violent criminals, but I think we need to start moving on the 20 million illegals. We can't have 20 million illegals, according to Tom Homan, the number, living in this country right now. We have to start to remove all of them.
Here's the quote from the article, Tommy, that what the grassroots is telling the Democrats, quote, some of them have suggested what we really need to do is to be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies. So they want to, these left-wing nuts are telling them to draw fire as they stand up for people who broke the law. who are here in this
Right.
country illegally. So this is cover. When they talk about violence, they always mean violence against their opponents. They always mean violence against those who stand up for the law.
Dagan, not only that, they want their Democrat leaders to become martyrs for the cause, and that's an incredibly unsettling reality. It also goes to show that the Democrat Party at large has been entirely and completely captured by the activist class. I don't believe that your average Democrat in America believes these things. I don't believe that they want criminal illegal aliens in this country. I don't believe that they want their Democrat leaders to have these performative displays where they get arrested outside of an ICE detention center or impede ICE agents. I don't believe that your average Democrats want that. But the problem with the Democrat Party is they're not listening to your everyday Democrats. I've said this before. I think that the Democrat Party at large is bored with your everyday American. They would rather listen to the activists. They would rather perform for an audience on social media or cable news networks than actually get anything done. It's a lot easier to get arrested outside of a detention center or like Karen Bass to go impede an ICE operation in front of the cameras. That is a lot easier than offering an alternative to the American people that they will actually vote for. So this is what they do. It's a worthless and dangerous virtue signal. This is also another era of the war on cops, the war on law enforcement, the war on law and order. And this is what they will continue to do as long as cameras are in their face and they can fundraise off of it. That is where the Democrat Party is in 2025.
Tomi Lahren, Clay Travis, thank you both.